before this long break last week, we started with the professional skills required for civil engineers or engineers in general, and we are talking about mainly these three things over here. Okay, we already finished the aspect of innovation. I mentioned that every project is new, and civil engineering work is project based. We are not product based, we are project based. So another term used for other engineering is process based. So mechanical, electrical, they can be process based, but civil engineering is mainly project based. So every project we are encountering something new. So we may have to innovate in our methods, in our materials, in our approach, and so on and so forth. Okay, I asked about some innovations. Okay, and so as an engineer, you must adapt to the changes in the field, because even if you are not doing innovations are happening. So you must be able to adopt the changes. Okay, and you must be able to realize the risk and how to adopt them, how to convince other people to make the change. Okay, innovations are not only adopted because they are new. You have to see the results of adopting the innovation as well. Some innovations can be uh, good and some can be bad. Okay, so I gave you these two examples where a chemical is invented or is produced which can make the concrete go harden without gaining the strength. Okay, so it can go both ways. But a traffic engineer which is developing a model for reducing the delay of for the traffic, that is something which is good. Okay, so when you're adopting innovations, you have to look at what will be the results, and every innovation may not be adoptable. Okay, so as an engineering student, you must uh, have the skill to understand the innovation, recognize your role with regard to this innovation. You are going to adopt it, and if you are going to adopt it, what are the things you are needed to do, and then what are your ethical responsibilities with regard to that innovation. What are the points which may go against or in favor of your responsibilities. Okay, the next item is communication. Right from the first lecture, I've been emphasizing on it. Okay, so as an engineer, you may have to communicate knowledge, decisions, and outcomes. So knowledge is communicated to your junior colleagues. Okay, somebody who is in your company, who is working under you. Okay, he is new to the job, or he is not an engineer, he is a diploma holder, he is a worker on the site. So obviously, in terms of knowledge, you are at the higher level. So you may have to communicate to them the knowledge. Okay, then decisions are also communicated to these people. They can be communicated to your own team. Okay, even if they are at the same level as you, they are all engineers. But you may be the team leader, you may be the boss of the company, inshallah. So you have to communicate your decisions. Now, okay, I'll come back to it, and then you have to communicate the outcomes as well. Outcomes may be communicated to your client, can be communicated to your own boss. Okay, now why this is important, why this needs a skill at all to communicate. To say something, you, mashallah, all of you can say, right? If I ask you what is your name, where do you live, and what is your nationality, which school you went to, you will be able to give me some answer. Yes. So these are very basic things. I don't need to understand it. You don't need to explain it to me. But we are talking about engineering knowledge and decisions about the project, outcomes of the project. So then communication is at a higher level. Okay, because you need to make the people understand what you are trying to say. Okay, and that can involve something technical, and I already mentioned about the change or the innovation, and there are things which may have gone against you, and there are things which may have gone in your favor. Okay, so you need to, and there are things you may not have done because of a reason. So you have to explain all these things to the other party, and you have to explain it in a way they can be convinced with your point of view. Okay, because you want your client, your team, your boss to be in favor of you, to support you. So if your communication is not proper, they cannot understand, they are not convinced by what you are saying, then you will have problems, you will have arguments, you will have conflicts, and that will happen during the project, which is very, very bad for the project as well as for yourself as well. So you can imagine that the team is not talking to each other and so on and so forth. Another thing is communication is two-way. So you have to uh, listen to others as well. And again, that can involve all of these things. You may be getting knowledge from somewhere. You could be the junior engineer who is being taught or mentored by the senior guy in the company. Okay, and you may be taking decisions from your boss, from your team leader. Somebody may be telling you about the outcome of their activity. So you have to listen to them properly, you have to understand them. So communication is two-way. So when I say that somebody is trying to communicate, for example, take these classes, okay, the online classes or the physical classes, the teachers are trying to explain to you. Yes, some of them may be doing a better job than the others. Okay, so there are people like me who may not be doing such a good job, but that doesn't mean that you will not do your job from your end. Okay, you still need to understand, you still need to try to understand, raise questions. Okay, pay attention, give respect. Okay, like when you are listening to others, you need to keep it in mind that the other person could be right. If you are listening with a mentality that no, I know more, my decision should be respected, and whatever I say is the last word, then you will not listen to the other person with attention and with respect, and this will also create problems. Okay, so if any of the party is not fully dedicated to communication, the speaker or the listener, then you will have problems in the team later on, problems in the project later on. So both parties need to do their job, the person who is communicating and the person who has been communicated to. So this is a two-way job. I already mentioned that you can be communicating to your clients, employers, government authorities. Okay, they need to give you approval for your project. They come and inspect your sites. Okay, so they are involved at many stages. The public, okay, especially if you are doing a project for the government. Okay, now how do you communicate to the public? Tell me. Like as an engineer, as a civil engineer. Okay, how and when do you communicate to public? Yes, tell me. How do engineers communicate to public? Have you seen any incident where somebody has communicated to public? Okay, engineer came to you and he said, "Oh, I am communicating about to public about my new project." Has this happened to you any time? I believe no. So how do engineers, civil engineers communicate to public? Yes, anyone. No one? No ideas? Okay, I can move on. Public hearings, okay, this can be done, but it happens on very few projects, okay, and in countries where it is applicable. So there are many projects and many situations where it is not uh, done. Ah, so you are saying how it should be communicated. Okay. When you are communicating, keep it simple and clear. Okay. So I'm asking like, in what platform do you communicate? So Mariam is saying we can do public hearing. So you directly ask people to come and listen to the details about your project. Another way of communicating is you don't directly communicate, you communicate to their representatives. Okay, so the people who are in the parliament, for example, they are considered as the representative of the people, representative of the public, because public has elected them. Okay, so when you communicate to them, when a plan is presented in a parliament or in front of the MPs, okay, this is considered as a public representation. Okay, so these are also considered communication to public because you're communicating to their representatives. Okay, so and I already mentioned you are communicating with your team and your juniors and seniors and blah blah. Okay, if the communication is if done effectively, then others understand you. If they understand you, they can trust you better. Okay, things which you completely understand, you are more confident about them, right? So when uh, people communicate to you in a better way, you feel you can trust them, okay, because you understand them. And then the most important part is why we are doing it, so that the implementation can be proper. Okay, there's no miscommunication, there's no gap, there's no confusion, so the implementation will be up to the mark. This is the main aim, okay, that we can somehow manage the implementation as best as we can. Okay, so if you have a good design, poor communication may still lead to problems and failures. Okay, if the design is not understood properly by the people who are working on the site, they can make mistakes which can result in safety problems. And once a problem happens on a project, people lose their trust in the whole team. Okay, this is why you may have heard about in some countries if a project fails, the minister comes up or the boss or the director or somebody like of that position comes up. They say, okay, now we are resigning. Okay, so this is sort of a face saving. If you don't resign and you keep on working in the same seat, people will not trust the future projects. Okay, so that's why this happens. You know? So people take strict actions when a failure happens in their project. So they take some strict actions. So those actions are basically to gain or regain the trust of the other parties. Okay, so because obviously something has failed, accident happened, and nothing has been changed. Okay, so what are the chances that people will trust them for future projects, the same team and the same people? So this is why the strict actions are taken. But obviously, this is done more when something becomes a public issue or something becomes well known. Okay, small accidents happen on construction sites every day. Okay, but obviously nobody makes a big deal out of it. but and problems in buildings, they happen. Okay, some buildings right after construction you start to see the cracks, or finishing is not up to the mark. Okay, you have leakage issues. So these issues do happen after construction, uh, and they can happen very early, and they are mainly because of some problem with communication. Okay, so most of the issues which happen during construction or just after construction are issues of communication. At some level communication was not done properly. Okay, so if it could be from the client side as well. Okay, or could be from the person who was designing, so he did not communicate to the client the risk of what he is saying, or the client did not communicate to the consultant or the contractor about the conditions or about the use of the building, what he will do after the building is constructed, or what he actually needs in the building. So he's saying, okay, I need a tank, but what is a tank for? Okay, and so on and so forth. So most of the problems which happen during construction, just after construction, are issues of poor communication. And when such issues happen, people lose their trust. Even the team which was working on the same project may not now trust their manager, may not now trust their employer, their boss, that see, because of him this thing happened. So it's a big problem. You lose your trust. It's a big problem. Okay, so you have to explain when you are communicating. So you are communicating to people who may be non-technical. So you have to play like Fatma was saying. You have to make your communication plain and simple. Okay. You have to communicate not only the decision but the risk and limitations as well. Why you are taking the decision. We talked about accountability earlier, that you need to be accountable. So somebody says, okay, why you are doing this? Why this material? This is more expensive. Why you are increasing the cost of the project? Then you must be able to tell, okay, these were the problems, these were the risks. If you don't do this, then this will happen. Okay, or why the project is 4 months. You said you can finish in 3 months, so you will tell them, okay, but we can finish in 3 months, but for that we need more labor, we need better equipment, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these things come under accountability. You explaining your limitation and risks come under accountability. Okay, and you must be able to also explain the ethical issues and the safety issues. Okay, so we are not doing this because this is not ethically correct. We are not doing this because it can have accidents later on the side. So you need to keep them transparent as well. There are some issues in which people have divided opinion. In one of the earlier classes, I gave you an example, okay, uh, about this. For example, we have an autonomous vehicle, driverless vehicle, and you are designing the algorithm for this driverless vehicle. They're the program, they're the software which is working on the background. Okay, so when this situation happens, the vehicle should do this because it is working by itself, right? So there was a situation I gave you, that you have a pedestrian in front. Let's say on the right hand side you have a guardrail, and you hit the guardrail, you will damage the car. And left hand side you have a motorcycle, you damage the car and the pedestrian, sorry, the passenger. Okay, so if the autonomous vehicles is in this situation, and it is coming at high speed, so it cannot stop, it has to uh, you know the crash is imminent. Okay, so which side it will go to? At every side there is a problem. Okay, it cannot stop completely because it's coming at high speed and it has all this. Okay, so uh, which side it will or which damage it will accept. Okay, so this is an ethical issue, and whatever decision you take, there will be some amount of damage. Okay, and there is a human life aspect in all the three cases. Okay, so the person who is doing this, he must be transparent to the boss or the client about this is the situation, I did this, and these are the reasons, and the other person may change the decision based upon their own considerations. Okay, so sometimes the ethical issues are not very black and white, that this is right and this is wrong. Okay, sometimes you are just prioritizing which is more right and which is more wrong. Okay, and it could be from your own perspective. Okay, so I may consider, okay, damage the car and the passenger because it is happening because of the driver, so this is more right according to me. Okay, but somebody else may say that no, we can try to take a chance on the left hand side because the motorcycle rider may see the car coming and he may take an action. Okay, and so on and so forth. So this depends upon people's perspective as well. Okay, when you are taking ethical decisions, it is not always 0 or 1. It is not always completely right and completely wrong. Sometimes it depends upon the perspective of the other person. So why I started this? Because of transparency. So when you are explaining the ethical issues and the safety issues, you must be transparent. Try to explain as much as possible so that the other person understands why you are doing this, and he may give his or her own perspective. No, what you are saying is because of this, but we have another perspective here, and according to this perspective, this thing is more right. Okay, so this is where transparency is very important. Many of you have mentioned this in your midterm assignment. Very famous failure project. It happened in 1981, and the whole issue of ethics it was brought into the construction field after this failure, after this project failure. Okay, and the project failure happened because of the communication issues. Now, many of you have written about it in your term project. Can somebody uh, give me a summary here? People who have written about it in their midterm assignments, their take-home exams. So, can somebody tell me what happened in this project? I want to hear in your own terms. Maybe it will be good for for the rest of the people. Yes, tell me. Yeah, the Grand Hyatt project. Yes, anyone? What was the problem with Grand Hyatt project? Yes, if you are typing, you can just open your mic and say it. You don't have to open your camera, by the way. Yes. No one? Nothing? Okay. So some of you already have written about it. The others can have a look. Yeah, I'm asking people who have written about it. I know everybody didn't write about it, but there were at least like 10 people who wrote about this project in the failure scenario in part A. So I'm asking those people who wrote about it, what happened in this project. Okay, so people who didn't write, obviously I'm not I'm not pointing out anyone. Okay, I'm just asking in general. It's written here. You can have a look at it. But I just wanted any one of you to who has written about it in their term assignment to come up and tell me. Okay, don't worry. I'm not saying that if you didn't say anything, deduct your marks. You have your marks. Okay, so I already gave you the summary. The main thing is there was a communication problem. So there was a small change made in the construction method during uh, the actual construction, and the change was just communicated without following proper channel, without following the proper procedure which is applied for changes in design. Okay, so the guy who was doing the construction, he thought that if I made this little modification, the contractor, okay, the contractor guy thought that if the Grand Hyatt project, the Hyatt Regency walkway was a walkway between the two towers, and it has, you know, it was supported by steel rods, and the contractor thought that I can just shift the joints where the rods are being connected. This was the main thing. Okay, I will use a bigger rod, a longer rod, and I will joint it at some other point. At that small change the load distribution of the walkway, and that change in load distribution eventually collapsed the entire walkway, and there were 114 people killed. And this happened because when the change was proposed, it was just talked on the phone without following the proper procedures. Okay, there was a question in the midterm assignment about the ethical thing. So the idea was taken from here. Okay, that a change is being proposed, but no procedure is being followed, and eventually it led to the collapse of the building. Okay. So, how do you communicate as a civil engineer? You communicate through technical reports and drawings, your main weapons. Okay, you will always need them, right? You will always need them. Now we have two courses. Each one of them deals with one of them. Can you mention the so in which courses you learn about drawings? Tell me. Which course you took about drawings? Tell me. 160, yes. Okay, and there were those poor people who took it with me, huh? So you will never be able to understand what is a good drawing. Okay, but 160 for drawings, yes. What about report writing? Which course you took for report writing? Tell me. 242, yes. And before 242, you took English something, right? 242 as a prerequisite, English something. So obviously that one is also part of the thing. Okay, so you learned how to make the drawing in 160, and then in the other courses, for example, uh, in what was the name? The quantity estimation course, it is 305. You will learn how to use the drawings. Okay, so now you should be able to imagine the importance of these two documents, the reports and drawings, that we are dedicating entire courses on these things. Okay, so I told you report writing is not one course, it has actually two courses, and drawing also has at least two courses in which you will be dealing with the drawings completely. So we have like 2 and 2 courses which are dedicated to these documents. Okay, and with the technical report writing, you also uh, uh, understand or try to see how we make good presentation. This is also 242, I believe, and I have tried to give you some remarks on good presentations. Even after the last one, I gave you some pointers. Okay, so presentations are given to decision makers normally. Okay, then we have public consultations, stakeholder meetings. So I was talking about these stakeholders when I said, when we were discussing how do we communicate to people, we don't communicate to everybody basically. Okay, so yes, in very few cases you may hold a public hearing, but most of the times we are communicating to these stakeholders. Okay, so stakeholders are representatives basically. Okay, so somebody from the parliament, somebody from the local organization, somebody from the engineering organization, somebody maybe from the university, and so on and so forth. Stakeholders, people who are affected, but not all of them, just their representatives. And you may have, and again, very important part of communicating channels is site instructions and documentation. Okay, so site instruction, if you go to any construction site, if you just walk past it, you will see some signs, right? You will see some signs are there which are for everybody. Okay, so you must have seen it. You may have gone to some site visits as well, I don't know. But in any case, you may have seen site instructions which they post near construction sites. Like what? Can you give me an example of site instruction for construction site? What type of instructions you normally see at the construction site? Steel? No, instructions for people. Like you should do this, you should not do this. So what type of instructions you have seen for the people? I'm not talking about these boards where you have the project information. No, I'm talking about instructions. So what type of instructions are normally given to people on construction sites? Yes. Yeah. Okay. What else? So these are for people who are working on the site. Anything else? Anything for the other people who are not working? Any instructions for them? Okay, wearing helmet. Okay. This again for people who are working on the site. Have you seen any instructions for people who are not Okay. Okay, so I believe most of you know that these are mainly safety instructions about helmet, waist, and all these things. Okay, uh, but there are instructions which are given to people who are not working on the site. Okay, and they are mainly for, again, they are mainly related to safety, and they could be uh, yeah, restricted area, don't go into the restricted area. This is one of them. And then you have if the work is near a road, so they will say, okay, reduce the speed. Okay, or chances of debris ahead, or chances of falling something ahead. Okay. No problem, but you can see the what others have written. Okay, and there's yeah, then you have instructions about the facilities on the site. Okay, where is the site office, where you will find the engineer, where you will find the material. Okay, where you will find the uh, emergency numbers, for example. Okay, yes, do not touch equipment, use without touching, huh? And so these are the types of site instructions which you have. And then you have site documentation as well. What do we mean by site documentation? The tracking and monitoring of your work. Site documentation is tracking and monitoring of your work. Okay, so you have done testing for concrete, you have done testing for steel, you have done surveys on your site, so this much work is completed, this much quantity is completed, we have used this many this much material at this on this day, we use this much labor, the equipment was used for these many hours. So all these things must be documented, because the client and the contractor will need them. Okay, for costing and billing. Okay, the contractor will need it to calculate or to know the actual cost of work, and later on the basis of that the client will get the bill. Okay, so the client will not give you the amount you are asking for if you don't have any records. So this is why site documentation is very important. Okay, so site documentation is mainly the recording of the work done on the site. It is done at very minute level. Okay, even the number of hours and even the quantity of material, all these things are recorded. So it's not like you will say, okay, I did 10 columns and I will ask. No, uh, just the output is not enough. Okay, yes, you did 10 columns, but how much material was consumed, how much labor was used, all these things are also recorded and tracked. So in disseminating the information, communicating the information, you must have clarity, honesty, and professionalism. Okay, so you must not hide anything. Everything must be very clear to read and to understand, and it must be done in a professional way. Okay, so you will follow the specific templates, you will follow the guidelines. Okay, I already told you about report writing and so on. So you have to do it in a professional way. Okay, so even in communication you have to keep in mind the ethical aspects. So the data which you are communicating should be accurate, not your assumptions. Okay, if something is assumed, you write, you clarify that this is an assumption. Okay, otherwise if you are communicating actual data, we call it primary data. So if primary data is communicated, then it must be done with as much accuracy as possible. Okay, you don't hide anything, you don't keep anything uncertain. If there was uncertainty, you mention it clearly. So even the uncertainty should be clearly mentioned. Okay, and I already mentioned about assumptions and any limitations which you have faced. Okay, limitation of labor, limitation of equipment, limitation of time, this is our deadline, this is the budget we have. These are all limitations, right? Budget, deadlines, these are limitations. Okay, so the engineer is not only responsible for design, he is also responsible for communicating the design as well. Okay, so as a student, you must develop your basic professional communication skills. Professional communication skills include report writing and presentation and so on. Okay, understand the role of transparency that you have when you are communicating, how you can be as transparent, as open as possible. Okay, and you must understand your responsibility that if your communication is not done properly, there can be issues related to safety later on. Okay, so the third aspect is project management. Okay, and again we have at least two courses, construction engineering and construction management, which are dedicated to this skill of project management. Okay, so a very important area, and later on you will find that one of the most important areas for engineers, especially in GCC countries. Okay, most of the engineers are involved in this. Okay, especially like from their scope of work is mainly project management. Okay, and there are other engineers who are doing something else. They are not project managers, but they are involved in project management, or they have to manage their own work using the same principles. So you can be a consultant, you can be a site supervisor, but you still need to understand how project management is done because you are part of the process. Okay, so just a brief about the importance of this field. What do we mean by project management? It's a structured process of planning, executing, monitoring, and completing the project. Okay, so starts with planning. So even before the design is ready, the management starts, the project management starts even before the design of the project is ready. You are just now thinking about the project. The project management tasks have already started. So you plan, you design, and then it goes to the site for execution. Execution means construction. Execution means construction. Then you monitor during construction, and then the last stage is the project is finished. Okay, so in all this process, you have to keep in mind four key aspects. Okay, so in project management, there are four key criteria: time, cost, quality, and safety. Okay, quality can also be termed as, in some cases, as scope. Okay, so quality and scope are very close to each other, the work which you want. Okay, so quality, time, cost, quality, and safety. We already mentioned that we do not compromise on safety on the site, or the safety of the people using the project later on. So there is no compromise on safety. Then you have a deadline to meet, or a duration in which you have to finish the project. You have to do it under the estimated cost as best as you can. But the quality, the client is asking for the work of a specific standard. Okay, that should be like this. You have to meet the expectation of the client as well. Okay, and so the stages which I mentioned earlier: planning, executing, monitoring, completing. You have to consider these criteria in all these stages because they are interlinked. If you did not design the project, if you did not plan the project properly, okay, it will not finish on time and within cost. Okay, if your design is not safe, then you will have safety issues. If you do not consider the safety guidelines in your design, you will have safety issues. At the same time, if you did not consider safety on your site, the instructions and all the things which you mentioned, the helmet, the goggles, and everything, you will have safety issues. Okay, so all these things are interlinked. So when you lack in one of these things, then it will eventually affect the other as well. So no matter how you are doing the execution, if your design is not good, you will have problems in execution. And no matter how good your design is, if the execution is poor, then the project will fail. and no matter how much you are spending, you have the best of contractor, you have the best of consultant, but there's no monitoring. Nobody is tracking the work. Nobody is looking at the quality of the work. Nobody is inspecting the work. Then you will have safety issues and project may not finish on time. The contractor may go over budget. Okay, so all these things are interlinked. If you miss any stage, you will have problems in these criteria. Okay, so in civil engineering we are dealing with infrastructure projects. I told you even a building or a villa is infrastructure. Okay, so you have to make sure that you deliver them, you finish the project efficiently and responsibly. So responsibility, then you are responsible for the safety, you are responsible for the health, you are responsible for quality of life, for ethics and so on. And efficiently means that you have to finish within time, okay, and within cost, and as per the expectation, the quality required by the client. Okay, so as engineers, you are not only designing, you are also coordinating. Sometimes you are making decisions. Sometimes you are solving problems. Okay, so you coordinate with your team. You have to coordinate with the client. You have to coordinate for material delivery. You have to coordinate for labor. Okay, so there are things you need to schedule. You need to see when it will be required, from where I will get it, and so on and so forth. And you can be decision makers. uh, I come to know that in many of the ministries, the people who are in the high ranks, okay, the directors and so on, they are civil engineers. Not only in Ministry of Works, even Ministry of Transportation, and what is the other one, the urban planning. Okay, so most of the high ranking people in those departments are civil engineers. And when I went there, I met like some of the students who were not the students now, but some of the old students who graduated few years ago, and they are now working there, and some of them are, so you know that the next generation will also be civil engineers. The next generation of directors and so on, they'll also be civil engineers. So these people are decision makers. These people are decision makers. And then you have the other decision makers, which are the bosses. Okay, you have your own construction company, or you are promoted to the director of the company, so you are making decisions now. Okay, so and then all engineers are problem solvers. So coordinators and problem solvers, everybody is doing that. Okay, everybody is part of this scope. You have to coordinate and you have to solve real problems. And the most challenging part of solving these problems is it happens real time, it can happen unexpectedly, and it can happen like your decision can be can affect the project a lot. Okay, so and you have a very short time to respond to it. Okay, so some of the problems, they just pop up without you knowing about it, and now you have to take a decision now. If you don't take a decision now, you may delay the project for days or weeks or something like this. Okay, so your small decisions, small urgent decisions, can have a lot of impact. So a new problem came up, but you have to decide about it right now. You don't have any time for consultation and taking guidance and doing this. Okay, and like I said, is it can happen to any type of engineer, any type of civil engineer, whether he is junior or senior or whatever. Okay, and usually the junior engineers, uh, when they are on the site, because they are dealing with the site directly, most of them, so their problems are more frequent, more regular. Okay, and all those problems cannot be taken to the higher management, because this will take a lot of time. You will waste a lot of time of the project in doing this. So they usually take decisions at their own end. Yes, they consult with their team on the site. They may do a phone call or something, but it's not like a full procedure where you will, okay, let us define the problem now, let us do research, and now we will come up with the solution, it will be approved. You don't have time for this. Okay, So from these three management related aspects, the coordination and the problem solving happens every day to all engineers or all levels. And the last one is more frequent with the junior engineers because they are dealing with the activities on the site. So when you are doing this coordination and decision making and problem solving, you have to keep in mind what resources you have. You have to keep in mind what team you have with you, people working with you, what are the risks, and what is the expectation of the other people from you. Okay, so when you take a decision, the stakeholder will expect that the decision is safe, it is ethical, okay, it is in benefit of the project, and so on and so forth. Okay, and you should understand the risk as well, that I'm trying to solve this problem, but it may create an over budget. But I'm trying to solve this problem, it may delay the project. Okay, so there could be risks as well. You must understand or manage your team, how you will coordinate with your team about what are you doing, why are you doing. Okay, and you have to manage within the resources. The project resources are always limited. You don't have unlimited resources. Okay, so you have a fixed budget, you have fixed number of people, you have specific equipment to use. Okay, so whatever you are doing, you are trying to solve a problem, you are coordinating, taking decision, it must be within the resources which you have. Okay, within a project we have basically these five phases, and you can see that you know the amount of time which is consumed on each of these phases. Okay, so initiation is where you set up your goal and scope of the work. So it's not design, it's okay, I want to build a 20-story building. This is initiation. Okay, so you write it down and where you are going to do it and so on, so the basic details. Okay, then you go on for planning where you do the design and the complete construction plan and so on and so forth, and then you go for execution. Obviously execution takes most of the time for the project. Monitoring and control happens with execution. Okay, monitoring and control is the tracking of the activities, the recording of the data and so on and so forth. So it is happening in parallel to execution. Okay, you are monitoring what people are executing. You are monitoring what people are doing. Okay, so this is for tracking of the execution, and then you have the project closure where you hand over the project to the client. So the client will do his own check and everything. Okay, so this is the last stage, and obviously it will only take a small amount of time. Now from these five phases, which one is the most important one? Tell me, which of these phases is the most important phase in the project? Planning? You mean the initiation? Fatma Ibrahim. You mean the initiation? Okay, anybody else has any idea? So one Fatma is saying initiation, the other Fatma is saying planning. The question is, which project phase is the most important one? Yes, anyone else has any idea? Or you agree with one of the others? Number three, which is the execution, right? Okay, so we have three opinion now: initiation, planning, and then one is saying execution. All of them are important. Yes, but they could be one important than the others. Okay, so let us keep it to these three. Okay, so out of these three, which one is the most important one? So please, everybody, you can cast your votes here. Okay, so most of you think planning is the most important one. And yes, according to many of the people, yes, planning is the most important uh, phase. Yes. Okay, so well done. Most of you got the right. Yeah, but the point is the execution does not happen properly if the planning is not done properly. Okay, so there's a saying in which they say that there's a quotation in which it goes like this: when you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Okay, so this is a quotation which they give. Okay, so if the planning is not done properly, then obviously execution will fail, and the rest of the steps, the rest of the things also depend upon the planning. Okay, the controlling and the closure also depends upon the planning. Okay, so as we have been doing in every aspect of your professional duties, you have to consider the ethics part as well. So when you are managing your project, you cannot compromise safety to save the other aspects. Okay, so you are, as I mentioned earlier, you are trying to manage between these things, right? Time, cost, quality. Okay, so from these aspects, safety is directly linked with ethics. So you cannot compromise on time or cost, sorry, you cannot compromise on safety to enhance the other three aspects. Okay, so if you have to delay the project, if you have to go over budget, if you have to reduce the quality of work, but you maintain safety, this is considered more ethical. Obviously, when you don't have the choice, like you have to uh, compromise on one of these aspects, then you try to maintain safety. But if you can save cost and you maintain safety, obviously you will do that. Okay, you have to, because you are managing your team, I mentioned it here, you are managing your team and stakeholders, so you have to treat your workers in the fair way. All of them are at the same level as far as you are concerned, so you will not you know favor one over the other. Okay, then any delays, any risks, you will report them honestly. So some people do not, and this happens in all the fields, that I feel that the client will not like something. So I don't tell him until that thing actually happens. Okay, so you go to the contractor and you are trying to give him or you are giving him the contract. At that point of time, he will say, "Oh, no, I have enough workers. I can finish the project in time. I've done this project number of times and blah blah blah." When the project actually starts, you see that the contractor does not have enough people. So he does not have enough people who can do the electrical work, but he did not uh, tell this does not tell this to you at the start of the project, because he felt that if you knew about this issue, you will not give him or her the project. Okay, so sometimes the risks are not reported properly. The delays are not reported properly because the contractor thinks I can manage it. Yeah, we have a week of delay, but I will make sure that the other activities are done faster, so I will eventually finish the project on time. Yes, you may still finish the project on time, but now the delay has happened. Okay, so when you finish the project on time, that will be at the end. You can tell the client, yes, I am doing this. I had a delay, and now I am doing this to cover the delay. This is this is possible. This is logical. This is ethical. Okay, but if you hide the delay, then you will have problems. Okay, delay or any type of risk. Okay, the price of material has gone up. This is a risk now that the project will go over budget. You may have plans on how to cover it from other aspects, but still you need to convey the problem and the risk to the client and to your boss and everybody. Okay, so when you are dealing with other people, you have to be fair and honest. Okay, so even if you are doing something to manage it at your end. Okay, and take responsibility for your decisions. Okay, so when something goes wrong, it is still your decision. If the project finishes on time, everybody is happy, then yes, everybody will come up and they will say, see, this happened because of me, and see, I was doing this. You may have heard, if you have talked to any engineers, old engineers, senior engineers, they will tell you, I did this project. See, this building, this 20-story, 30-story building. See this, I worked on this building in the financial harbor. I was part of the project which for the causeway and blah blah blah. Okay, so when something goes right, something is some people are admiring it, people are praising it. See, this is a good job, this is good work. Then everybody wants to take the credit. They will come up and they say, okay, see, I was involved in this. I took the decision for this. I was a material supplier. I was a project manager. So people are happy to take the responsibility of success. But what if that project failed? How many of the engineers will come up and say, see, that project failed? I was the engineer there. Okay, and this happened on this accident happened on this project. It happened because of that, and I was the team leader on this project. Okay, how many of the people will say that? Okay, so this is obviously you are not proud of it. If something goes bad, you are not proud of it, but in the end, you are accountable and responsible. You are accountable and responsible. So when you are taking responsibility of your decisions, and something goes wrong, okay, then what do I get out of it? Okay, I will take responsibility, but where to go from here? In this case, first of all, you can offer to correct the mistakes. Okay, something bad has happened. I will do this and this and this to correct my mistake on the same project. First thing. Secondly, what you will learn for the future. If you don't take responsibility, you will not learn, or you will not change for the future. Okay, so changing for future means you must do something or you must take responsibility of that thing in the present as well. Okay, so this is where taking responsibility is important. If nobody is taking the responsibility, then this thing cannot be corrected now, and this has a very high chance of happening in the future as well. But if somebody takes responsibility, then they will make sure that this can be corrected, and he is the person who will do it or try to do it, and this will not, or at least this person will not do it in the future. Okay, so poor decision making, poor project management can lead to a lot of can lead to failures in a lot of cases. Okay, what are the ethical challenges? This was a question again in the midterm project. Okay, it was in part C. So if you are trying to take a decision, your decision can be affected by budget pressure. Okay, that if I do this, I will need extra cost. Your decision may be affected by delay in the schedule. Okay, that if I do this, the project will be delayed. Your decision may be affected by compromise on safety. That if I do this, it could be unsafe for the people who will use the project later on, or it could be unsafe for the workers on the site. Then you have the treatment of the workforce. Okay, that if I do this, then it may favor one person more than the other. Okay, if I do, for example, overtime, or if I take the material from this location, or if I bring the equipment from this company, it may favor one over the other. Okay, so this comes under workforce treatment. So you have to be fair, and if your decision totally on the basis of the work itself, it can work. Okay, you can go ahead with it. Okay, so we are not saying that obviously, for example, if I have 20 workers on the site and one of them lives near the site, it's not I did not shift him near the site. He just by chance he lives near the site. So obviously the travel time for him is very very low as compared to the other guys. That doesn't mean I will shift my site, or that doesn't mean I will not employ that person. I will tell him no, you go to another site which is far from your home. No, okay. But the thing is that you treat everybody on the basis of work. Okay, on the basis of the scope of the work. Okay, on the basis of the things which you have on the site. You are not doing it to favor someone. Okay, fair treatment means that you are not doing it to favor someone. If you did something which was good for the project, it was good for the overall team, and it has more benefit for one guy than the other, it happens. Okay, everybody has different perspectives, different situations, so it can happen, no problem with that. Okay, but it is happening just by chance. Okay, okay, yeah, so this is group activity now. Okay, one of the groups will have a very hard time in going, because okay, so we are discussing is delaying a project justified to improve safety. Okay, and we need like two groups. I will make two groups now. One will say so we are talking about pressure, right? We are talking about pressure, so you want to improve safety, it will delay the project. Okay, so one group will act as the person who is trying to do that, and the other group will act as a pressure group. Okay, so why this should not be done? Okay, so the question is should we delay our project to improve safety or not? Okay, so group 1 will be the person who are trying to improve safety to avoid delay, and group 2 will be not doing it. Okay, not delay the project. I'll write it here, some of you have problems. Group 1 delaying the project to improve safety. Group 2 not delaying the project to improve safety. Okay, so I'll make you into two groups, 10 minutes activity. After you come back, each group will give me their points. Okay, so one person from the group will say their points at the end of the 10 minutes activity. Okay, only two groups.